All right, you guys are ready to start the pre-flight checklist preparedness. So, today we are going to be talking about a couple of very important things. We're going to be talking about your roles that you'll be playing when we go outside into the field, and we're going to talk about the equipment that we need to take out there with us, and we're going to be going over your behavior out in the field, as well as the procedure for launching the rocket. So, there's quite a bit going on here. If you do not have the headphones plugged in and are listening, it might be better if you do that. Trying to read all of this stuff is probably going to be a bit confusing. So if you're still on the closed captions, highly recommend getting yourself a pair of headphones for this particular video. All right, let us dive right in. So first things first, I want to open up with a favorite quote from Mr. Robert F. Kennedy. This is JFK's little brother. Only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly. So one of the things that we're going to be doing out here in the field is hopefully not failing, but that's always the possibility. My favorite quote there: the only true failure is to give up trying for success. So as long as you don't give up, we will definitely have some success out there. All right, so just as a fun fact, make sure that by now you have filled out the top part of your form. Make sure that you have your papers handy, ready to go. If they're not in the bin, make sure you have them on your persons. Please make sure that you know the dry mass, what your bottle was empty. Make sure you know what your rocket volume is. That should be 2 liters. Make sure you know how much water you plan on putting in your rocket. That's going to be very important. You get that number from White Box. And the pressure that you plan on pressurizing your bottle to. The final dress mass will be the last thing that we do when we take your completed rocket and we put it onto the scale and we weigh the entire completed rocket. So that'll be the last thing that we filled out. That needs to be done before the launch day. So make sure that you have that kind of all in place and ready. All right, so by now, again, you should have all of those things done. So take your moment and answer this question correctly. All right, so the way this is going to work, before we can go out into the field, we must go through the pre-flight checklist. The pre-flight checklist is going to make sure that we have everything that we need, because once we go out in the field, there's no coming back inside. And we will have a very limited amount of time out there. You figure there's 41 minutes in a class. By the time it takes us about 5 minutes to get out there, it takes us about 5 minutes to get back. So that right there just cuts it down to to 30 minutes. So we have to be able to get out there, get set up, start launching rockets quickly. So that's going to be very important. So the pre-flight checklist is how we make sure that that happens quickly. So you'll notice here, this is a short video that's going to play from NASA. This is a pre-flight checklist for a Delta launch. Just kind of listen in on this and really pay attention closely to the things that are said and how quickly they go through it. When it's our turn to do this, you will say the word go, and that's it. So if you are the one responsible for that particular item, you just simply say go. Not here, not funny, don't try to crack a joke or anything. We ain't got time for that. Just say the word go and we get out in the field. So let's listen in on how they do this. And again, listen to the cadence, the speed at which they do this. If there is a problem, you would say no go, and we would try to solve that problem. But everyone else would continue down the list until we're back at the bottom, and then we'll come back to you, and hopefully by that point you have fixed the problem and we are go for launch. So this will be done by the flight director. That job is a very important job. So one of the first people that will get assigned that job is the flight director. You'll notice on your paper you have a little FD. Again, I need a very loud, vocal person, but I need somebody who's incredibly responsible to take on this position. All right, let's listen in and see how they do it here at NASA.
Last team, this is the NLM on the NLM net with our final launch goal and continuing the launch countdown at T-minus 4 minutes. 10 a.m.
10 a.m.'s ready.
NASA CE.
NASA CE, go.
SMA.
SMA's go.
SMD.
SMD is go.
Mission Manager.
Mission Manager is go.
Copy that. The team's ready to release the hold at T-minus 4 minutes.
Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems. Propulsion. Go. Hydraulics. Go. Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2. Go. Water. Go.
Go.
Centaur Systems, propulsion.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
HASGAS.
Go.
Electrical Systems, airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
Instrumentation.
Go.
COM.
Go.
GCQ.
Go.
Umbilicals.
Go.
ECS.
Go.
Redline monitor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
OSM.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Range, weather, and clear to proceed.
Go.
LC, this is the LD on Channel 1. LC, you have permission to launch.
Roger. Proceeding with the count.
NLM, this is SMD on MLM net.
Power.
Go ahead, SMD.
SMD would like to report that the spacecraft is on internal power and it's configured for launch for a T0 of 15:02:00.
Copy, SMD. MSL is configured for launch. While I have your attention, I want to wish the entire team that supported MSL good luck and Godspeed. It's been a long, challenging journey getting here, and we're proud to start you on the way to Mars shortly. NLM out.
All right, so there you have it. So again, this is how they do every launch. Like I said, each one of those things that you heard call out was a system. And if one of those systems is not doing its job properly, that rocket cannot launch. So at the beginning of each of our launch days, we will go through a very similar system. All right. Everyone will have a role. Everyone will have a job. And it is mission critical that you do your job. Know what your responsibility is. That's what we're going to be talking about here in a minute. So, when it is your turn to say whether or not you are prepared to go outside, the only thing you say is correct. Go. So, once we've done that, we will go through. The flight director will go through the checklist of all of these items, starting at the top. We will bring everything with us out there, including the launch stands, all of the launch pads. We will need to bring out the air pumps. We will need to bring out the 2-liter bottles of water that will be the replacement waters in case we spill some or we have a mislaunch. The clipboard for altitude, the clipboard for distance, the clipboard for time, the master clipboard, the camera that we can film everything with, the altimeter gauges, the stakes that we will use to lock everything down. There is quite a big list here, and everyone will have a position, everyone will have a job. So that having been said, let's go over what some of those jobs look like. So the most important thing is if you are one of the 4 people who are the clipboard people out there, again, the Capcom person, the main communication between the rest of the team, they will have the orange clipboard. The blue clipboard will be for the altimeter gauge people. That clipboard will be with the altimeter gauges. The green clipboard will be the distance clipboard, and the yellow clipboard will be the time sheet clipboard. That will be with all of the timers. So those people are very important jobs. So again, the 4 clipboards that go out are the altimeter gauge has a clipboard, the timers have a clipboard, the distance person has a clipboard, and of course the Capcom person will have the master clipboard. So who has a clipboard? Check all of the correct answers. Cool. So on each one of those clipboards, you will see that there is a spot for you to write everything down. So this is for the flight director's main checklist. So this is the pre-flight checklist before we are even going out into the field. Again, this is for the flight director will be doing this. Every item will be listed on this sheet, and there will be a name by every single item. Those will be assigned to you guys before we finish building our rocket. So everyone will know what their job is. The flight director will then go down that list and they'll read off each one of those items, starting with Mr. Bennett's hat. I will say go. Mr. Bennett's sunglasses, I will say go. Mr. Bennett's sweaty rag because it gets hot out there, I will say go. Mr. Bennett's walkie-talkie, I will say go. Mr. Bennett's master clipboard, I will say go. And then launch stand A, whoever has launch stand A will say go. Whoever has launch stand B will say go. Whoever has air pump A will say, are you getting what I'm saying here? Okay. So we wanted to be able to do that in a matter of seconds. It should be done really quickly. That should not take us very long to get through that entire list. Again, this is all done by the flight director. So who does the pre-flight checklist before we go out in the field? Excellent. All right, so one of the big and most important things is when you are filling out one of these clipboards, you want to make sure that you are using the best handwriting you have. This was back a few years ago. This particular individual totally fouled up his entire class. The entire class lost an entire launch day because nobody could read this, and it was horribly wrong and inaccurate. You can see he actually missed the data for the first 3 launches there. Again, you need to make sure that you write clear and concisely, very neatly. It's very important that we can read all of the information written on these sheets. Again, if you have to use your best handwriting, if you know you have the worst handwriting in the world, do not volunteer to be one of the clipboard people. If you are assigned one of the clipboard people, you better get better handwriting. So make sure that you are writing very nice and neatly. So, what's the most important thing when filling out any of the clipboards? So importantly, the altitude sheet. This is the clipboard that will be with the altimeters that are standing over on the basketball court. So they will be the furthest away from us. This particular clipboard, we will not know whose rocket is launching. All right. All they're going to have is their phone with a clock on it. So the altimeter sheet will not have the people's rocket's name on it. All it will have is the time that the rocket launched. This is why it's so important that the distance persons, the time people, and the Capcom people are all collecting the correct, appropriate information, because we have to be able to line that up with the time of when the rocket launched. Because again, the altimeters are not going to have the person whose rocket it was that launched. All right. So you can see here it says altitude A. So altitude A is the person who has altitude A, the altimeter gauge A device. So they will be measuring, and we will be writing down their name. The person who has altimeter gauge B will have their name written down. The person who has altimeter gauge C will have their name written down. The person who actually wrote all the information down will be listed up here in the top. Again, they will be writing down each time when the rocket launched. So the idea is that we will be spacing these rockets out at least 1 minute apart. Hopefully it'll be really close to that. So you can see this year we were doing pretty decent by getting them about 3 or 4 minutes within each other. So we need to go fast when we get out there. Otherwise we're going to run out of time. So the altimeter gauges will not be writing down the name. They will just be writing down the launch time. So how do the altimeter gauges mark down whose rocket it was? Awesome. The next clipboard that's out there, one of the most important ones is the distance clipboard. So there will be 2 people doing this job as well. There will be the person actually controlling the distance wheel. You'll see that in a video here in just a minute. But they will be writing down the launch time when the rocket actually launches at. They will also be very mission important writing down whose rocket it was, just so that we can confirm that that time was that person's rocket. They'll be writing down what launch pad it launched from. They'll also be writing down, of course, the actual distance that they measured. It is also the responsibility of the distance people to correctly mark down the pressure that was put in the rocket, as well as the water volume. So make sure that you are filling out all of that appropriate information. So the distance people are responsible for writing down the launch time, the rocket name, the distance that it traveled, the water, the pressure, and the water that are in the rocket. All right, so make sure that you guys are very aware of that. So the distance person is very, very, very important. They have a lot of work to do out there. They're not just measuring the distance of the rocket. Their other most important mission job will, of course, be to actually measure the distance from the launch pad to where the rocket landed. We'll get to that in just a minute as well. All right, so a couple of things just to mention. When we are going outside, there will be the table set up. And again, everyone will have a responsibility. When you leave, you need to take the things off of the table with you out into the field. When you come back, you better put them back in their correct spot. All right, everything will have its correct place. Again, This is the distance gauge here. This is for measuring the distance of how far out in the field the rocket landed from the launch pad. These three blue objects here, these are the altimeter gauges. Again, this is how we measure the distance of how high the rocket went. We will have launch pad A, someone will be responsible for the air pump. We'll have launch pad B, someone will be responsible for the air pump. We have a launch pad C for my larger classes. You will be using that. For some of my smaller periods, we may not need launch pad C. There will also be 2 bottles of water that will also travel out there with us in the event of a mislaunch. If you accidentally mislaunch your rocket, or let's just say it spills out the water, this way you can refill those bottles and safely take them back out there and get them launched. The other most important thing are the little metal stakes here. These are used to lock down the launch pads. So make sure that you don't lose those. Every year I have someone who's carrying them back and accidentally drops one and misplaces it. Please don't let that happen. Make sure that you guys keep up with those. If you see one out there on the way back, please pick it up. Okay, so those things are very important. If you are in charge of bringing the air pump out there, you want to make sure that you carry the air pump the way it is wrapped up in this image right here. All right, so very important. So when you carry the air pump, you hold it at the base of the air pump or in the middle, right there underneath the letter A. You do not carry it by the handle. Do not let me see you walking out in the field without that hose strapped across the top of that air pump. You see how it's locked in the image? The hose is wrapped across the top and clicked in right here. Very important. You carry the pump here in the middle as well. All right. Don't let me see you walking around swinging the pump around by its handle. You will break the pump part and then it doesn't work anymore and we can't launch any more rockets. So if you're carrying the air pump, it's very important that you carry it the correct way by holding it in the middle and make sure that the air pump, the hose is attached at both points over top of the handle. So how do you carry the air pump? Awesome. The distance measuring wheel. Again, this is the distance measuring wheel. Before you go out there, make sure that you turn it on and make sure the batteries are still good in it, that it actually does light up and comes on like it's supposed to. So what is the first thing you should check if you have the distance wheel? Next, you'll notice that the distance wheel has a kickstand that folds down right here. If you are going to set this down, you flip the little kickstand down and you stand this thing up. That way it's not laying down the field where it'll get stepped on. This thing is probably the most expensive piece of equipment that we're going to be taking out in the field. Let's treat it that way. Keep it safe, okay? The other most important thing is your very first job as the distance wheel is to measure 150 meters out into the middle of the field from the third basketball goal. So again, if you are the distance wheel person, your very first thing that when we walk out to the field, you will walk to the third basketball goal and you will start the distance wheel at 0 and you will walk straight out into the field 150 meters. Make sure you do that in meters. And that's going to tell us where to set up the very first launch pads. So that's where all the launch pads get based off of. In order for our altimeter gauges to work, you have to be 150 meters away from them in order for that all to work. So again, distance job is a very important, critical job. It's also one of the easiest once you're actually out there. But most importantly, you got to walk out to the field and measure the 150 meters from the third basketball goal as we walk out to the goals. Cool. Which brings us to the thing that everybody wants to do. So everybody wants to do the altimeter gauges. I will tell you, if you are a jackwagon and you have been a jackwagon all year long, you will not be doing the altimeter gauges. Those 4 people are the most important 4 people that are out in the field because it's the farthest away. You are 150 meters away from us out in that field. If you are not paying attention at all times and you miss a launch, that's horrible. That's really, really, really horrible. We don't want that to happen. So it's very important that those 4 people, the clipboard person and the 3 altimeter gauge people, are always paying very close attention to everything that's happening out there. Another most important thing, do not swing the altimeter gauges around. If you are swinging it around out there, you're going to have a huge problem because number one, you're going to get the altimeter gauge out of whack. The little arm there, it's using a pendulum to make it work. And if you swing them around, or if you try to run around like you're John Wick or something, try to cap people, you're going to mess up my altimeter gauge, and then it's not going to work properly, and you're going to lose all the data for that launch. So please be very careful with these things. Again, these are going to be people that I can trust. So if you've been a jackwagon, you're not going to have this job. Don't even ask. All right. So again, so the altimeter gauges, you are going to be standing at the basketball goal, and you will be you'll be pointing them out to the field, and you must be paying attention at all times. We will then wave to you from the launch pad. That'll be the first thing that we do is we wave to you, and you will give us a thumbs up. When I see all 4 people over there on the basketball court giving me a thumbs up, then I know that we are ready to actually launch the rocket. Sorry, the Capcom person will know that you're ready to launch the rocket. If you are not paying attention, you will be replaced immediately. We'll get to that being replaced on the field, what happens then. You do not want that to happen. Trust me. Again, the altimeter gauges they're royally expensive. They're about $21 right now on Amazon. So again, if you break it, if you're walking around smacking it into stuff, we're going to have problems. So you will be replacing it. So please be gentle with those. They're old as I am. So be careful with them. Okay. All right, which brings us to the probably one of my favorite jobs, the rocket fuel. So rocket fuel, it's very important before we leave to go out, you make sure that both of those bottles are filled up. All right, do not dump the water out when you are done. If we don't use it, bring it back, and then the next class doesn't have to fill up the bottle. All right, so we're going to ideally leave them full. That's the whole goal. If we have to use the fuel to refuel somebody's rocket, fine, that's what it's for. But please do not spill the water when we're outside. All right, keep up with those. Also, if your job is the rocket fuel person, do not set those down. If I see them sitting on the ground, you have just gotten a 0 for the day. All right, rocket fuel people need to keep those rocket fuels in their hands so they don't get stepped on, because that's inevitably what will happen. So rocket fuel, what's the most important thing you can do? Be holding that bottle the entire time you're out there. All right, so by now you should definitely have your rocket volume labeled on your sheet. So make sure that you know that you are using a 2-liter bottle, and make sure that you have marked on there how much fuel you plan on putting in your rocket and how much pressure you plan on putting in your rocket. You will need to be writing this on the bottle itself, but that comes once you've got the bottle built. So we will get to that in a little bit. Again, remember, you're going to be measuring the dress mass of your bottle. So once your bottle has been completely built, you're going to take it and put the entire bottle on the scale, not the cap, but just the entire bottle with all the rockets, fins, the parachute, and everything. Put it onto the scale, and you will measure it and get the weight in grams. So again, once you've got your rocket completely built, we will eventually have the rocket trees set up. Again, the rocket trees are, each one of those holes has a number on it, and your period is marked above it. You will put your rocket onto the rocket tree. The way it works is quite easy, actually. You will slide your rocket into the hole there, and when you tilt it down, it locks it into place, and that's pretty much how that works. So be very careful with those. If you knock them over, it is your job to pick up the bottle and put it back where it goes. So each bottle has the name, and it has their number, their period, and their seat number written on it. So you will find the period that it goes on and put it in the seat number slot that it belongs in. So again, if you knock over a bottle, if I hear bottles hit the ground, you better pick them up and put them back. All right, so that's an important thing. All right, here's how the launch days will work. When we come back inside, then you will take your paper and you will go back over to the back table back there, bench 2, where all of the clipboards that have been out in the field will be laid out. You will take all of the information from the clipboards and write it onto your sheet. Do this at the end of each launch day. So when should you get the information from the master sheets? You should get it on the launch day. Take your sheet back there and copy that information onto your sheet. All right, again, you'll get the time from the timers all 3 times. You'll get the altitude from the altimeters, all 3 altitudes, and you'll get the distance from the distance wheel. The distance is only 1 number. All right, so for each launch, you will write down the altitude, all 3 altitudes. You'll write down the time all 3 times, and of course, you'll write down the distance. Make sure you also fill out the date. So you'll see you have a pretty large size box here. That's the idea. You'll be able to write all 3 of the times, right here, all 3 of the times in there, all 3 of the altitudes right there, and then of course the final distance there. Make sure you are filling out the date that you actually did your launch on. Include the launch pad that you launched from, if it was A, B, or C, and of course what your PSI and your water volume was. Sometimes those will be different. They might change up. You might decide to add more pressure to one or whatever. So make sure you write down what you actually put in the rocket, because that's what's going to be used when we gauge them. All right, so just to go back a little bit, the altimeter gauges, the way this works is there's a little swinging arm on here. So this part swings back and forth when you release the trigger. So when you squeeze the trigger and you start to look up, this arm moves back and forth. So you will be using this number. There's 3 rows of numbers. Whichever number is the clearest, that's the number you're going to actually write down. Okay? So not the degrees, not this number over here, the one with the green thumb, this number. So whichever one of these 3 is the clearest, so it would be this number right here, that's what you're going to write down or read out to the person with the clipboard that will be writing it down. All right? So again, we will go over how this actually works when this is your actual job. So if you are one of the stopwatch people, make sure that you know how to use the stopwatch feature on your phone. That way you could be able to start and, like I said, be able to get the correct times. And of course, the distance person, you'll be in charge of knowing how to do that. Again, so here's the concept of the mission. So our Capcom person, this will be the person with the red clipboard. You will be out in the field. You will be the one who does the pre-flight launch protocol, and you will be reading off before every single launch. The distance person, again, they will have the measurer, and they will have the person with the green clipboard. So those 2 people will be getting all of that information we talked about before, and of course they will be writing it down on the clipboard. Our timers, that'll be 3 people with their phones as stopwatches, and of course the orange clipboard for timers. And last but not least, the altitude gauges will be down over there by the basketball courts, with the blue clipboard as the 4th person. All of our pad rangers, these are the people that are bringing out the launch pads, the air pumps, the stakes, and the fuel rockets. And of course, last but not least, the possibility of our media specialists. So if we have enough people and we have some people left over, I would love to have a couple of you guys actually filming some of the launches too. It's really good that we could actually have the film of the launch in case there is some sort of discrepancy. If somebody says, oh, well, timer A said it was 5 seconds, timer B said it was 10, so what was the correct answer? If we can go back and watch the video, we can get an exact time of it. So if we have enough people, media specialist is a fun job to have too, but you have to make sure that you're filming every single launch, because if you miss one, then we don't have that data, and well, that doesn't work. All right, so that brings us to the order of events. So the way this is going to work, when you guys walk into the room, like I said, we have less than 3 minutes after the bell rings. You need to make sure that all of the rockets are fueled up. Make sure that everyone has their material that they're going to take with us out there, and that we are all sitting down and quiet. We have only 2 minutes to read off the checklist. That is, the Capcom person will go down the list and everyone will just say go. And once we get to the last thing, we get up and we go out in the field. That gives us 5 minutes to get out in the field and actually set everything up. That gives us 2 minutes to get everything lined up and ready to rock and roll. And then if everybody starts launching after that 2 minutes, that gives us a full 18 minutes of time to be able to launch all of the rockets out there. Then we got about 10 minutes before the end of class, we will pack everything up and start heading back to class. When we get back in the room, everything gets put back where it goes. It's very important that it goes back where it goes. So when you walk in this room from now on, after today, when you come in this room, I'm going to start prepping you guys for this. You walk in and you sit down silently. Just sit down. Get quiet. That's the most important thing. What's the most important thing you should do when you walk in this classroom from now on? So again, our flight director will be the one that does the pre-flight checklist. They will be going through that list. And then again, when we are out in the field before each launch, our Capcom person will be the one going through the pre-launch list there too. So I think my slide is a little jacked up, but that's okay. All right, looking at here, everything must get written down. It is very important that if you are filling out one of those clipboards that you are writing it down correctly. All of our measurements will be in metric, so we will be using meters for measuring the distances and for measuring the height as well. You cannot miss a launch. I cannot stress this enough. If one person fails to collect the data they're supposed to, that launch is invalidated. It's not good anymore. You can't use it, which means whoever's rocket that was, they didn't get their information, and that's not going to work. All right. So as soon as the rocket clears the launch pad, the next person should be prepped and ready to go. So as soon as that launch pad's empty, there should be somebody putting a rocket onto that launch pad. 0 horseplay. Do not be screwing around out there. That is just not going to be an option. Make sure you guys are helping out at all times. Make sure you are helping out people. Pay close attention. We're going to talk about that here in a slide too. Do not be screwing around out there. 0 horseplay. I cannot stress this enough. All right. Again, before each launch, the Capcom person will go through the ready to launch procedures. They will make sure that everyone has written down whose rocket it is and what time it's planning on launching at. We will go over that very specifically with the Capcom person. Everyone will also call out that go again. So they will go through the pre-flight checklist and then everyone will say go. Once we are go, Capcom will do the countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the rocket will launch. And everyone will collect all of the data. And that's very important, so make sure you are doing that. Again, so just to give you a quick brief look down at how that exactly plays out. So again, the rocket ready for launch, you will call out whose rocket it is. So this is Rocket Bennett ready for launch at 1:05 with 600 milliliters of water at 65 psi. Timers, are you ready? Timers will say go. Camera, are you ready? Camera will say go. Distance, are you ready? Distance will say go. And then we will wave to all the altimeter people who are way over there on the field. They will all immediately give us a thumbs up. That way we know that they are ready to go. And then the Capcom person will call out 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we will launch the rocket. All right, so skipping through here a little bit, make sure that you know your role. Again, make sure that you guys are filling out these clipboards carefully. Make sure that you are getting the correct piece of equipment and make sure that you are putting it back exactly where it goes on the time of your launch. Again, a couple more things. Do not be screwing around out there, guys. We do not have the time to waste out in the field. You cannot do that. All right. I'm going to jump forward a little bit here. Again, make sure that you guys write very neatly on the paperwork, because again, if you don't fill it out correctly, then we're going to have a huge problem. All right. I think I'm missing some slides here. I'm trying to get through the last couple things. I know we're almost out of time. Again, after you have finished watching this video, you definitely want to get onto White Box. Make sure that you are at level 4 by this point, because you kind of need to be. And I think that's about everything. What else are we missing? When you guys are outside in the field, one of the most important things too, just to remember, do not lean over the launch pad while you are pressurizing it. That's just kind of not safe. We don't want you to get hit in the face with a rocket launch. Also, make sure that you guys are behaving out there. I cannot stress this enough. Any kind of jackwagon behavior will be very detrimental to your grade. Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. All right. Again, if there's any questions, make sure you put them in the comments there. Make sure you guys got 100 on this. Let's just go through a couple of things really quickly. If your job is to fill out one of the forms, you should definitely be using... Cool. All right. When you walk into this room from here on out, you should do what? Excellent. Come in, sit down quietly. Remember, items need to be put back at the end of each class carefully. The correct way to carry the air hose is with the strap wrapped across the top like you see there and holding it in the middle. Be very careful with that, please. The distance wheel is not a unicycle. If I see you sitting on it, you will be buying me another one, and those things are very expensive, so be very careful with that. Remember, you are not John Wick, so please don't go around pointing these things at people as if it is some sort of a weapon. That's not cool. All right, I know that we're going to have an awesome time out there. I'm really excited to see what your rockets do and how they perform. Remember, our next inevitable step is to start building. So if you have not completed your paperwork, your complete design of how you're going to build your rocket, you need to do that now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and I hope you guys have been very good for the remainder of this year. I know that we're almost done, so please be very careful, make good choices. You know the drill. Be good, be smart, be safe, make good choices, do the right thing, all that good stuff.